The emergency beacon died exactly 3 seconds before the screaming started.
Ryland Cross heard it through the communication system, a Valtharian colonist's voice rising in pitch and terror as something massive moved through the settlement perimeter.
Then silence. The kind of silence that meant someone was already dead.
"That is the fourth one tonight," Kixer Moth said, his chitinous mandibles clicking with what might have been satisfaction or might have been nervousness. The insectoid alien stood beside Ryland in the command center of Outpost Viridian, watching thermal displays that showed nothing useful. "Your species should never have attempted to colonize this world.
Nix 7 belongs to predators that hunt in the eternal night. Humans are diurnal prey animals. You cannot survive here."
Ryland did not take his eyes off the displays.
"How many settlers are still alive?" "Perhaps 200. Down from an initial population of 800. The Night Stalkers have been efficient."
"And your people have been very helpful in documenting our extinction," Ryland said, his voice flat.
"Tell me, Kixer, when exactly were you planning to offer assistance?" The insectoid's patterns flickered, a sign of discomfort. "The Valtharian Collective does not interfere in natural selection."
"Your species chose to settle on a world with a predator you cannot defeat."
"That is unfortunate but not our responsibility." Natural selection. Ryland finally looked at the alien. "Interesting perspective. Tell me something, how many of your people have left the command center since night fell?" "None. Obviously. The Night Stalkers hunt anything that moves in darkness. Only fools venture outside after sunset." "Right.
Because your species evolved on a world with a normal day-night cycle.
You have biological clocks that tell you to hide when it gets dark." "Very sensible. Very civilized." Ryland picked up his equipment pack. "Unfortunately for the Night Stalkers, humans evolved on a planet where we were both predator and prey. We learned to hunt in any conditions. Day, night, storm, drought. It did not matter. We adapted. You cannot possibly be planning to go out there." "That is exactly what I am planning. Those colonists are my people."
"They sent a distress signal requesting a hunter."
"I am that hunter."
Kixer's entire body language shifted to what Ryland had learned was profound skepticism.
"You are one human. The Night Stalkers travel in packs of 12 to 20.
They are 3 meters tall with natural armor plating and claws that can tear through steel.
They see perfectly in complete darkness. They can smell prey from kilometers away.
You will die within minutes of leaving this facility."
"Maybe," Ryland agreed, checking his weapons one final time. "But I have something they do not expect." "What is that?"
"I am not afraid of the dark."
"And neither are humans. We conquered every environment on Earth, including the night.
We became persistence hunters, creatures that chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion.
We learned to track wounded animals through pitch darkness using nothing but sound and smell. We developed technologies specifically to hunt what hunts us." He activated his equipment. Night vision, thermal imaging, motion sensors, weapons designed for close-quarters combat. Everything a human needed to turn the tables on an apex predator. The Night Stalkers think humans are easy prey because we come from a world with daylight. They are about to learn why that is the worst assumption they could make. We did not just adapt to the day. We conquered the night. And now I am going to show them what happens when humans stop being the hunted and remember we are hunters." "This is insanity," Kixer insisted. "This is what humans do. We fight. We hunt. We protect our own. Now get out of my way."
The exterior airlock opened onto a world of absolute darkness. Nix 7 was a rogue planet ejected from its home star system millions of years ago, now drifting through interstellar space.
It had no sun. No daylight.
Just endless night broken only by the bioluminescent fungi that the colonists had introduced to mark safe paths. Those paths were now littered with bodies. Ryland activated his night vision and the world became visible in shades of green. The settlement stretched before him, prefabricated structures designed for rapid colonization, now looking more like a tomb than a home. He could see signs of struggle. Claw marks on walls. Blood trails. Broken equipment. And in the distance, movement. His motion sensors pinged. Multiple contacts. Large. Moving with predatory purpose toward the residential sector where survivors had barricaded themselves. Ryland moved silently through the darkness, following the Night Stalkers. They were impressive creatures, quadrupedal with armored carapaces that made them look like massive armored beetles. Their mandibles clicked and chittered as they communicated, coordinating their attack on the human shelter. They had no idea he was behind them. The first rule of hunting is to understand your prey. Ryland had spent the last 3 days studying Night Stalker behavior patterns from the surveillance footage. They were ambush predators, used to prey that panicked and fled when attacked. They relied on their night vision and pack tactics. But they had one critical weakness: they had never encountered prey that fought back effectively. The humans on Nix 7 were colonists. Scientists. Engineers. Farmers. Not soldiers. Not hunters. They had tools to build settlements, not weapons to defend them. So they had huddled in their shelters and died one by one as the Night Stalkers broke through their defenses. But Ryland was different. He was what humanity produced when survival was on the line, a specialist in violence, honed by training and evolution to be the most dangerous thing in any environment. The Night Stalkers reached the residential shelter and began tearing at the reinforced doors. Inside, Ryland could hear screams of terror. The creatures were methodical, testing different parts of the structure for weak points. He raised his weapon, a modified combat rifle designed for big game hunting, and fired. The first Night Stalker went down with a bullet through what passed for its brain. The pack whirled around, searching for the threat. But they could not see him. Ryland had positioned himself in cover, using the darkness and his camouflage to remain invisible. The pack spread out, searching. Clicking to each other in patterns that suggested confusion and growing wariness. Ryland moved. He fired again from a new position. Another Night Stalker collapsed. Now the pack was truly alarmed. Their clicking became frantic. They understood they were being hunted, but they could not identify the hunter. "You are used to being apex predators," Ryland murmured to himself. "But you have never met apex predators from Earth. Let me show you what 40,000 years of human hunting evolution looks like." He fired again. And again. Each shot from a different position. Each shot perfectly placed. The Night Stalkers were fast and armored, but Ryland was faster and smarter. He had studied their anatomy. He knew where to shoot. The pack tried to flee. That was their first major tactical error. Fleeing prey triggered every hunting instinct that evolution had bred into Ryland's genes. He pursued them relentlessly, his enhanced endurance allowing him to maintain a pace that the Night Stalkers could not sustain. This was what humans did. This was why humanity had spread across Earth even when larger, stronger predators should have killed them. Humans did not give up. Humans did not stop. Humans ran down prey until the prey collapsed from exhaustion or died fighting. One by one, the Night Stalkers fell. Some tried to turn and fight. Others tried to hide. It did not matter. Ryland tracked each one using the tools and instincts his species had developed over millennia. By the time dawn would have broken on a normal world, the entire pack was dead. Ryland stood among the corpses, breathing hard, his equipment splattered with the ichor that passed for blood in these creatures. Around him, the settlement was silent. Slowly, the doors to the residential shelter opened. A woman emerged first. Young. Terrified. Covered in dirt and dried tears. She looked at Ryland, then at the dead Night Stalkers, then back at Ryland. "You killed them all," she whispered. "Alone. You killed all of them. That is what I came here to do." "But how?" "We tried to fight them. We had weapons. We had shelters. Nothing worked.
They kept coming. They kept killing us. We thought we were going to die.
You were trying to survive, Ryland said gently.
Survival is good.
But sometimes you need to do more than survive.
Sometimes you need to hunt. More colonists emerged. 200 faces, all showing the same mixture of relief and disbelief.
They had been convinced they were doomed.
That humans could not exist on a world of eternal night.
That the darkness would consume them.
I do not understand, another colonist said. Our biology is wrong for this world. We are diurnal. We need sunlight. How did you operate so effectively in complete darkness? Because darkness is not our enemy, Ryland explained. Humans learned to function in the dark thousands of years ago.
We developed night vision.
We learned to track by sound and smell.
We told stories around campfires that made the night less frightening.
And when the night sent predators after us, we learned to be the better predators. He looked around at the settlement. This colony can survive. But you need to change your mindset.
Stop thinking of yourselves as prey hiding from the darkness. Start thinking of yourselves as humans, the species that turned every environment on Earth into our hunting ground.
You do not need sunlight to survive.
You just need to remember what your ancestors were.
Over the following weeks, Ryland trained the colonists. He taught them to move in darkness. To hunt. To fight.
To use their human advantages, endurance, intelligence, tool use, and the psychological edge that came from refusing to accept defeat.
The Night Stalkers returned, as he knew they would.
They were territorial and the settlement was in their hunting grounds. But this time, they did not find helpless prey. They found organized human hunters working in teams, using tactics refined over tens of thousands of years of human evolution.
The Night Stalkers learned to avoid the settlement.
Then they learned to avoid humans entirely.
Within 3 months, the attacks stopped.
Kixer Moth observed all of this from the safety of the command center.
The insectoid had not believed it possible.
No species in the Valtharian Collective's extensive database had successfully colonized a world like Nix 7. No species had turned themselves from prey into predators so quickly.
I do not understand, Kixer said during one of his final conversations with Ryland before the Valtharian ship departed. Your biology has not changed. You still have eyes adapted for daylight. You still have circadian rhythms that expect a day-night cycle.
Yet you have conquered this world of eternal darkness.
How? Because humans do not let biology dictate what is possible, Ryland said. We adapt. We use technology. We change our behavior. We overcome. That is what makes us dangerous.
Not our physical capabilities, but our refusal to accept limits.
The Night Stalkers were apex predators on this world for millions of years.
Were is the correct word. Now they have learned there is something more dangerous than them.
They have learned what every predator on Earth eventually learned: humans are the real apex predators. We might not be the strongest or the fastest or have the biggest claws. But we are the smartest, the most persistent, and the most adaptable. And when you combine those traits with tools and teamwork, nothing in nature can stop us. You speak as if your species is invincible. We are not invincible. We are just very, very difficult to kill. And when you try to kill us, we stop being prey and become something much worse. What is that?
We become what haunts your nightmares.
We become the hunters. 6 months after Ryland's arrival, Nix 7 was a thriving colony. The humans had not just survived, they had flourished. They had established hunting patrols that kept the Night Stalkers at bay. They had adapted their agriculture to work without sunlight. They had built a society that embraced the darkness rather than fearing it. Word of the colony's success spread throughout the Valtharian Collective and beyond. Other species that had written off dark worlds as uninhabitable began to reconsider. If humans could survive and thrive on Nix 7, what else was possible? But the story that spread fastest was not about human adaptability or ingenuity.
It was about Ryland Cross, the human who had walked into the darkness alone and emerged victorious. The hunter who had turned the tables on apex predators. The Veltharians, despite their initial skepticism, eventually requested Ryland's assistance with a different problem. On another world, in another system, a different predator was killing settlers. Not Veltharian settlers, they were too smart to colonize dangerous worlds. But a client species under their protection was dying.
We would pay well, Kixer transmitted.
Your services as a hunter have value.
We recognize that now. Ryland considered the offer.
He had planned to return to Earth, to civilization, to a world with a normal sun.
But he thought about those colonists on the other world. About families huddling in shelters while something killed them in the darkness.
Send me the details, he said finally.
I will review them and make a decision. You would consider this? After we refused to help your own people? You refused because you did not understand what humans are capable of. Now you know.
And those settlers you were talking about, they do not deserve to die just because they ended up on a dangerous world.
If I can help them, I should. That is very noble of you. It is not about nobility. It is about remembering what humans do. We protect. We hunt. We turn darkness into a hunting ground.
That is our gift and our curse.
We cannot stop being what evolution made us. The transmission ended.
Ryland stood on the perimeter of the settlement, looking out into the darkness of Nix 7.
Somewhere out there, Night Stalkers lurked.
They had learned to fear this place. Learned that the strange bipedal creatures were not prey but predators. A young colonist approached him. Mara then, one of the first he had trained. She carried herself differently now, not with the hunched posture of prey, but with the confident stance of a hunter.
Ryland? I heard you might be leaving. Is that true? Possibly. There are other people who need help. Then teach us everything. Before you go. We need to be able to defend this place without you. He smiled. You already can. You just do not realize it yet. You have everything you need: the biology of a pursuit predator, the intelligence to use tools, and the courage to face the darkness. That is all any human has ever needed to survive. But you make it look easy. It is not easy. It is just necessary. And humans do not let difficulty stop us from doing what is necessary. He gestured to the settlement, now protected and thriving. Your ancestors crossed an ocean on wooden boats because they wanted to see what was on the other side. They climbed mountains because the mountains were there. They went to space because the sky was not enough. You are doing the same thing here. You are conquering a world that everyone said was impossible to conquer. That is the human legacy. The Veltharians think we are crazy. They are probably right. But crazy is what works when sane fails. Crazy is what let humans spread across an entire planet and then reach for the stars. Crazy is what makes us dangerous. Over the following months, Ryland prepared the colonists to operate independently. He taught them advanced hunting techniques. Showed them how to track night stalkers through complete darkness. Trained them in tactics that turned human weaknesses into strengths. By the time he was ready to leave, Nix 7 had transformed from a failing colony into a secure settlement. The colonists had embraced their role as the new apex predators. They had stopped fearing the darkness and learned to own it. On his last night, the colony held a gathering in his honor. 200 humans who had been waiting to die 6 months ago now stood confident and strong. Mara spoke for all of them. You saved us. Not just from the Night Stalkers, but from our own fear. You showed us what humans really are. What we are capable of when we stop thinking of ourselves as victims and remember we are survivors. We cannot repay that debt. You do not owe me anything, Ryland said. You saved yourselves. I just reminded you of the tools you already had. What will you do now? Hunt predators on other worlds? For a while. There are people who need help. Species that think humans are weak prey animals. I should probably correct that misconception. He smiled. And honestly, I am starting to enjoy the work. There is something satisfying about showing apex predators that they are not quite as apex as they thought. Will you come back? Maybe. This place has a certain charm. And you are building something important here, proof that humans can thrive anywhere. Even in eternal night. That matters. The shuttle arrived the next morning. Ryland boarded with his equipment, ready for the next challenge. As the vessel lifted off, he looked down at Nix 7 one last time. From orbit, the planet looked dead. Black. Lifeless. Nothing to suggest that humans had claimed it. But Ryland knew better. Down there in the darkness, 200 humans were living and working and hunting. They had turned a world of eternal night into a home. They had proven what he had always known: humans do not need light to thrive. They just need determination and the willingness to become whatever the environment requires. The Veltharians would learn that lesson. So would other species who thought humans were soft prey animals from a gentle world. They would learn that Earth was not gentle, it was a testing ground that forged the most adaptable predators in the galaxy. They would learn that humans feared nothing because humans had evolved to be the thing that others feared. They would learn that darkness was not humanity's enemy. Darkness was humanity's hunting ground. And they would learn the most important lesson of all: when you threaten humans, when you try to kill them, when you assume they will be easy prey, you have made the last mistake you will ever make. Because humans do not run from predators. Humans hunt them. Humans track them down in the darkness. Humans turn the tables until the hunters become the hunted. That was the message Ryland Cross carried to every world that needed it. That was the truth about humanity that the galaxy was slowly learning. We are not afraid of the darkness. We are what makes the darkness afraid. And when night falls and predators emerge to hunt, they should pray they are not hunting humans. Because if they are, they have already lost. They just do not know it yet. If you enjoyed the story, like the video and subscribe for more. Thank you.